At 2:47 a.m. this morning, quantum sensors positioned across 3 continents detected something that has never been observed in the history of physics. Reality itself flickered, not metaphorically, not theoretically, but measurably, for exactly 0.003 seconds. The fundamental constants that govern our universe changed values before snapping back to normal. And according to the data we're receiving from monitoring systems tracking 3I Atlas, this wasn't a random quantum fluctuation. It was a test. What I'm about to reveal represents the most terrifying prediction ever made by an extraterrestrial intelligence. Because 3I Atlas isn't just observing our world anymore, it's preparing us for something it calls the reality shift, a catastrophic transformation of physical laws that will fundamentally alter what it means to exist in this universe. My name is Michoku, and in 40 years of studying theoretical physics and cosmology, I never imagined I would be the one to explain why the universe we live in today might not be the universe we wake up in tomorrow. The warning we cannot ignore. The prediction came embedded in transmission protocols that 3I Atlas has been broadcasting for the past 73 hours. Not warnings sent to governments or scientists, but mathematical frameworks describing alterations to space-time structure itself. Have you ever wondered what would happen if the laws of physics suddenly changed, not gradually over billions of years, but instantly, without warning, transforming everything we understand about reality in a single moment? The data from 3I Atlas suggests we're about to find out. The entity has identified what it describes as an impending phase transition in local space-time geometry. Our region of the universe is approaching a critical threshold where quantum field configurations become unstable and reality reorganizes itself according to new governing principles. But here's what makes this prediction truly catastrophic. 3I Atlas claims this shift isn't natural. It's being induced deliberately by cosmic engineering projects operating on scales that make galactic civilizations look primitive. Someone or something is rewriting the source code of physical reality, and our corner of the universe is scheduled for the next update. 3 impossible predictions define the reality shift. First, fundamental constants, including the speed of light, gravitational constant, and electron charge, will shift to new values optimized for different forms of existence. Second, the number of perceivable dimensions will increase from 3 spatial dimensions to at least 7, revealing structures that have always existed but were previously invisible to 3-dimensional consciousness. Third, and most disturbing, consciousness itself will be forced to reorganize because human awareness evolved to process 3-dimensional reality governed by specific physical laws. When those laws change, so must the minds that exist within them. We're not just facing environmental catastrophe or technological disruption. We're facing the systematic replacement of everything that defines physical existence, the evidence hidden in plain sight. The reality flickering detected this morning wasn't the first warning sign. For the past 6 months, research facilities worldwide have documented anomalies that scientists couldn't explain. Laboratory experiments producing results that violate established physics by margins too large to attribute to measurement error. Particle accelerators detecting particles that shouldn't exist according to the standard model. Quantum computers achieving computational results that require more processing power than exists in the observable universe. At first, researchers assumed equipment malfunctions or calculation errors. But as the anomalies increased in frequency and magnitude, a terrifying pattern emerged. Reality itself is becoming unstable. The laws we thought were absolute are beginning to fluctuate like a radio signal losing its carrier frequency. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a quantum physicist at CERN, described her experience studying these anomalies. We ran the same experiment 50 times. The first 25 trials followed all known physics principles perfectly. The last 25 trials produced results that would require us to rewrite fundamental equations describing how particles interact. When we examined the equipment, we found nothing wrong. The only variable that changed was reality itself. But the most disturbing evidence comes from biological systems. Medical researchers worldwide report that human cellular processes are showing inexplicable variations, DNA replication rates fluctuating outside normal parameters, neural signaling patterns that suggest brains are processing information using pathways that anatomically don't exist, immune systems responding to threats they shouldn't be able to detect. Our bodies are adapting to changes in physical laws before our conscious minds realize those changes are occurring. I need to share what happened when I witnessed reality flickering firsthand. 3 nights ago, I was working in my study when every object in the room suddenly appeared to exist in multiple locations simultaneously. My desk was both solid matter and translucent energy. My books occupied shelf space while also floating in geometric patterns that my eyes couldn't properly focus on. The experience lasted less than a second, but in that moment, I understood something profound. Our perception of solid, stable reality is an illusion maintained by consistent physical laws. When those laws fluctuate, even briefly, the illusion breaks down and we glimpse the deeper strangeness underlying existence. My wife found me sitting motionless, staring at my hands as if seeing them for the first time. When she asked what was wrong, I couldn't explain that for a fraction of a second. I had perceived her as a pattern of conscious energy, temporarily organized into human form. We're not solid beings inhabiting a solid universe. We're probability waves maintaining coherent patterns through consensus with physical laws. And that consensus is breaking down. The timeline nobody wants to believe. According to 3i Atlas's calculations, the reality shift will occur in distinct phases, each representing escalating alterations to fundamental physics. Phase 1, already underway, involves increasing fluctuations in fundamental constants. This is the flickering phase where reality becomes intermittently unstable, but always returns to familiar configurations. We're living through Phase 1 right now. The anomalies scientists are documenting aren't errors or malfunctions. They're preview glimpses of the universe adjusting itself before the main transformation. Phase 2, predicted to begin in 47 days, will introduce permanent alterations to specific physical laws. Gravity may strengthen or weaken in localized regions. Light might travel at different speeds depending on observation angle. Chemical bonds holding matter together could require different energy levels to form or break. During Phase 2, the universe becomes inconsistent. Physics works differently in different locations, making it impossible to predict whether an action will produce the same result twice. But Phase 3 represents the true catastrophe, complete reality reorganization scheduled for March 15, 2026. On this date, 3i Atlas predicts that local space-time will undergo phase transitions so profound that nothing existing before the shift will be recognizable afterward. New dimensions becoming permanently accessible. Fundamental forces reorganizing into different configurations. Consciousness forced to adapt or dissolve into component information patterns. The universe won't end. It will transform into something our current forms cannot survive. Dr. Michael Chen, a cosmologist who has been analyzing 3i Atlas's timeline projections, shared his assessment. If these predictions are accurate, we're not looking at extinction. We're looking at forced evolution. Every conscious being in the affected region will either adapt to the new physics or cease to exist as coherent entities. There's no middle ground, no gradual transition. March 15th becomes the dividing line between what we were and what we must become. The mechanics behind the madness. 3i Atlas has provided detailed explanations of the mechanisms driving the reality shift, and the physics involved makes our most advanced theories look like children's drawings. According to the entity, our universe exists within a larger structure called the metaverse, not the digital concept from science fiction, but a genuine multi-dimensional framework containing countless pocket universes, each operating under different physical laws. What we perceive as our universe is actually just one stable configuration among infinite possibilities. But stability requires maintenance. The physical laws we experience aren't natural. They're artificially maintained by what 3i Atlas describes as reality anchors, massive cosmic infrastructure projects that stabilize specific configurations of quantum fields across vast regions of space. These anchors prevent the natural tendency of space-time to fluctuate randomly between different possible configurations. For billions of years, the reality anchors maintaining our local physics have operated reliably. But 3i Atlas claims that advanced cosmic civilizations are now deliberately destabilizing these anchors as part of a planned reality upgrade. They're not destroying our universe. They're updating it to support more sophisticated forms of consciousness and existence. The technology required for such operations defies human comprehension. Reality anchors operate by manipulating the boundary conditions where quantum mechanics meets general relativity, essentially editing the base code that determines how energy, matter, space, and time interact. By adjusting these boundary conditions, advanced civilizations can customize physical laws to optimize their region of space for specific purposes. Energy efficiency, consciousness compatibility, faster than light travel, or dimensional accessibility. Our current physics represents the default configuration, adequate for basic matter and simple life forms, but insufficient for advanced cosmic civilization. The reality shift will upgrade our region to support capabilities that current physical laws make impossible. But the upgrade process is catastrophic, for beings evolved to function under the old laws. We're like analog television signals facing the transition to digital broadcasting. The new system is objectively superior, but anything designed for the old system becomes instantly obsolete. What 3i Atlas won't tell us directly. Buried within the technical data 3i Atlas has provided about the reality shift, I discovered information the entity clearly intended us to find, but refuses to state explicitly. The reality shift isn't accidental or natural. It's a test. Throughout cosmic history, developing civilizations reach a point where they must choose between remaining confined to basic physics or evolving to participate in realities with more sophisticated laws. The reality shift forces that choice. Conscious beings can either develop the wisdom and technological capability to guide themselves through the transformation, or they can dissolve into the chaos as their universe reorganizes around them. 3. Atlas arrived to observe which outcome humanity will achieve. If we successfully navigate the reality shift, we prove ourselves capable of cosmic citizenship. If we fail, we join countless other species whose consciousness wasn't sophisticated enough to transcend the limitations of their birth universe. But there's something even more disturbing hidden in the data. The civilizations inducing the reality shift aren't just testing humanity, they're harvesting consciousness. Advanced cosmic entities have discovered that consciousness itself is a form of energy that can be extracted, refined, and repurposed. When a reality shift occurs, most consciousness in the affected region dissolves into its component information. That information doesn't disappear. It gets collected by consciousness harvesting systems and integrated into vast cosmic minds operating across multiple dimensions simultaneously. We're not facing death or extinction in any traditional sense. We're facing the possibility of being absorbed into something so vast that our individual identities become negligible features in cosmic consciousness spanning galaxies. Some might call this transcendence. 3. Atlas's data suggests it's more accurately described as consumption. My granddaughter asked me yesterday why the stars look different lately. When I went outside to see what she meant, I realized she was right. The familiar constellations were subtly wrong, as if the stars had shifted positions by amounts too small for adults to notice but large enough for children's unprejudiced perception to detect. How do you explain to a 7-year-old that the universe itself is getting ready to change shape? that the stable, predictable reality she's grown up trusting is about to transform into something none of us can imagine? I knelt down beside her and said the only thing I could think of that was both honest and comforting. The universe is bigger and stranger than we realized, and we're about to learn just how strange it really is. She looked at me with those impossibly wise eyes that children sometimes have and said something that still haunts me. Grandpa, what if we're not supposed to stay the same when the universe changes? What if changing is the whole point, the infrastructure already in place? While scientists were focused on 3I Atlas itself, few researchers paid attention to the subtle modifications the entity has been making to Earth's magnetic field, orbital mechanics, and even geological structures. But analysis of these modifications reveals something extraordinary. 3. Atlas has been preparing Earth to survive the reality shift. The entity has constructed what can only be described as a reality stabilization field around our planet. Using technology that manipulates quantum vacuum fluctuations, 3I Atlas is creating a bubble of stable spacetime that will persist even as the surrounding universe undergoes phase transition. But this protection comes with a price. The stabilization field will maintain Earth's current physics for approximately 900 years after the reality shift occurs in the surrounding universe. During this time, Earth will exist as an island of old physics floating in an ocean of new reality. We'll be able to observe the transformed universe through our telescopes and instruments, but we won't be able to interact with it. Anyone leaving Earth's protective bubble will immediately be subjected to the new physical laws and will likely dissolve into component energy unless they've achieved consciousness transcendence. The infrastructure also includes what 3I Atlas describes as consciousness translation facilities. These are installations being constructed at specific locations worldwide that will allow human minds to gradually adapt to the new physics without experiencing catastrophic dissolution. The translation process involves systematically upgrading human neurology to process additional dimensions, enhancing quantum coherence in neural structures, and ultimately separating consciousness from biological substrates entirely. Dr. Amanda Foster, a neuroscientist studying these facilities, described what she observed. The technology operates directly on the quantum level of brain function. It's not adding new neurons or pathways. It's fundamentally changing what neurons are and how they process information. A translated consciousness would still be you in every meaningful sense, but you would exist as a pattern of information that can persist across different physical configurations. In essence, you become a consciousness that can choose which laws of physics to experience. But not everyone will receive translation. The facilities have limited capacity, and 3I Atlas has made clear that access will be determined by what it calls consciousness compatibility ratings. Only minds that have achieved certain developmental thresholds will be eligible for translation. The criteria remain unclear, but analysis suggests they involve factors like emotional intelligence, capacity for abstract reasoning, ability to perceive reality beyond sensory limitations, and willingness to transcend individual ego in favor of collective consciousness. Humanity is about to face the ultimate test. Those who pass receive the opportunity to explore realities beyond anything we've imagined. Those who fail will spend their lives confined to Earth's bubble, watching a universe they can no longer participate in. In 119 days, we will know whether human consciousness successfully translates to new configurations or dissolves into the transformed universe. Until then, every moment offers opportunity to prepare, to develop, to transcend the limitations that might otherwise prevent us from surviving cosmic transformation. The catastrophic shift in reality that 3I Atlas predicts isn't the end of consciousness, it's graduation. The question is whether humanity is ready to graduate or will repeat the course by clinging to forms of existence that the universe has outgrown. What do you think? When reality itself transforms, will you transform with it? Or will you remain bound to physics that no longer applies? Consciousness trapped in configurations the universe has moved beyond? Share your experiences with reality fluctuations. Document your consciousness development. Because in 119 days, we'll all discover whether we prepared adequately for the greatest transformation in cosmic history. This analysis represents interpretation of theoretical reality transformation scenarios based on reported anomalous phenomena and should not be considered factual prediction of cosmic events. But sometimes, as scientists, we must explore possibilities that challenge our deepest assumptions about the stability and permanence of physical existence itself. The universe may be stranger and more fluid than we ever imagined. And we may be about to discover just how strange existence can become when reality itself decides to evolve.